the studios of the Republic Media Network, you're watching Arnab Goswami live on The Debate.
Arnab Goswami on The Debate at 10, powered by Nissan Magnite and Nourish.
Welcome back. Twitter is in trouble again, and I'm so happy they are for this reason, because they show, I'm told, the distorted map of India on their website. Can you believe it? They operate in India and they distort the map of India. No respect for our own country. India for them is only a market to exploit. But they're not the only ones. Ladies and gentlemen, the unfortunate reality is that while Indian news networks like the Republic Media Network, which operate and broadcast in India, comply by all Indian rules, and we will and we do with a sense of pride, there are multiple global media groups which knowingly show a distorted map of India and refuse to correct it. Why don't the rules apply to them? Would we be allowed to show a distorted map of the United Kingdom or a distorted map of the United States of America and broadcast it to their people and be allowed to do business in the US of A or in the UK? Of course not. Then why are we so liberal and generous with these groups? Let's debate.
Twitter has done it again. This time, Twitter India's managing director Manish Maheshwari has been booked under the IT Act 2008 for showing the wrong map of India on its website after a complaint lodged in Bulandshahr, Uttar Pradesh.
आज दोपहर जब मैं ट्विटर चला रहा था तो मेरी जानकारी में आया, एक लिंक खोल करके जब मैंने देखा तो विश्व के नक्शे पर भारत का नक्शा उसमें बना हुआ था, जिसमें से जम्मू कश्मीर और लद्दाख को उन्होंने भारत से अलग दिखाया गया है। ये जानबूझ करके ट्विटर के द्वारा देश विरोधी गतिविधि की गई है। तो इंडिया हेड अमृता त्रिपाठी और मनीष माहेश्वरी जो इसके एमडी हैं, भारत के जो एमडी हैं, उनके खिलाफ और ट्विटर के खिलाफ मुकदमा दर्ज कराया गया है। जल्द से जल्द उनकी गिरफ्तारी हो, ऐसी अपनी मांग है।
Yesterday we had told you how Twitter on its careers page had distorted the map of India. It had shown Ladakh as a part of China and it had shown Jammu and Kashmir as an independent country. Now today, as this Republic World story tells you, Twitter has not rectified the map. It could have rectified the map. Instead, it has removed it from its career section entirely.
But this is not the first time that Twitter has disregarded India's territorial integrity. 8 months ago, Twitter had geotagged Ladakh as part of China. But Twitter is not the only international body to distort the Indian map. Days ago, Western media house BBC did it too, when they eliminated Jammu and Kashmir as part of India. In fact, even the WHO was called out in 3 letters between December 2020 and January 2021 for incorrectly depicting union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh in a shade different to the rest of the country in the maps on the World Health Organization's website. The international pattern to distort the Indian map will not be taken lightly. India will rise against the conspiracy, and for those who refuse to get the Indian map right, to soft pedal on the issue of Indian territorial integrity, the writing on the wall is clear. Get the map right or pack up from India. Let's debate.
The important thing we need to remember at the very beginning is that whenever it comes to any geostrategic issue that involves our sovereign interests, then the first and most important thing for us to consider is whether we have the leverage. So you can say that, oh, Republic has put a hashtag fix map or get out, and you can say, oh, it's very strong. We don't have the leverage. We can't really do that. It's hyperbolic, it's rhetorical, but it's not. We have the leverage. We can actually today make it mandatory for anyone. If you want a regulatory clearance, you want to do business in India, if you want to put in foreign investment in India, if you want to open a branch in India, if you want to bring your brand in India, if you want to enter into joint venture in India, if you want to run a social media company in India, you can say that the prerequisite is that you have to first accept our sovereignty. Because, Sushant, if you don't accept sovereignty, then you're basically saying you can walk over our sovereignty and continue to do business in India. Right? And I think this is a good thing. I mean, Google is pulled up by Russia. When Google does an incorrect depiction of maps, that Google, Sushant, was forced to change the borders to include Crimea as a part of Russia. That's because Putin said nothing doing. I'm not going to let you allow. Yeah.
Which is exactly the point. Look, number one, we have our own laws in India, which take the Indian map very seriously, and there is a punishment, laid down in case you do not follow the maps of India. Number one. But it's on our government to enforce the law, firstly. Second, I find it very strange that an organization, whether it's Google, whether it is Twitter, these are groups which are banned in countries like China. Okay, they can't do business out there also. They come to India, they do business out India, and yet the map which they show is the Chinese version of the map, not the Indian version of the map. Now, I can't for the life of me understand that you are doing your business out here. You have everything going out for you out here. You have a very large user base out here, which adds value to your business, in terms of your market and all of that. And yet you, treat Indian laws with utter disdain. But then the question which I turn around and ask is that they are doing what they are doing. My question is to my government, why is my government treating them with kid gloves? And why is my government not throwing the rule book at them? So at the end of the day, I don't give a damn what, whatever the Twitter owner or the Google owners or whatever somebody else says. My question is to the government I vote into office, and my question will be to my government, why they are treating these guys with such kid gloves.
Well, I mean, Tuhin must answer that, right? No, Tuhin must answer that. And yes, it's a perfect question. It's the BJP spokesman who has to answer that. Sure. I mean, why are we, 1 second, just one second. You see, it's not like you are showing how tough you are as a government within the country. I think you need to position yourself stronger in international forums. I mean, look at, are we punching below our weight?
Well, Arnab.
No, 1 second. You see now in the world of real politics, let me explain this to you, Tuhin. I'll take half a minute. No, I'll take half a minute, and after that I'll be quiet if you want.
Most of these are technical mistakes.
I am only, just 1 second. I'm saying today, are we afraid of exerting our real influence? Look at Putin. When he was preparing for his meeting with Joe Biden, he just put the US of A under pressure for 1 month, 2 months before that. He would have carried out an act of aggression, and the Americans were so worried. He is selling, his gas, his oil to Europe. Americans are worried about that. There have been talk about cyber attacks that have been supported by the Russian government. I'm not saying cyber attacks are good, but he put pressure on America.
It's a very wrong comparison.
And 1 second, it's a perfect comparison. Please, you don't tell me about comparison, please. You don't know anything about geopolitical. Your geopolitical history is stuck in 1917. You don't know anything beyond SARS and Russia.
Oh, please.
It's a perfect comparison.
Russia is a $1 trillion economy. India is a $3 trillion economy. If despite that, these communists have an inferiority complex because their mother country is failing.
Well done.
I don't want to say anything to these guys. But number one, many of these social media and these internet companies depend upon the number of users. That is what adds value to them. the number of users which go from India, for example, on Facebook is probably, if India is the largest market for Facebook.
I'm saying
Twitter,
that. That's what I'm saying.
Twitter, India is one of the largest
I'm with
markets.
you.
For Google, India
Yeah.
is one of the largest markets. Google is not allowed in China. And yet, if Google or Twitter or any of these big tech companies give a preference to China over India, despite not having to do any business out there, then clearly there is something.
Sushant, I have been saying this. No, I have been saying this. So Tuhin, listen. So opening up the debate. Tuhin, listen.
I don't agree. It's a technical
We
error.
can't deal. You just tell them to go back up.
How come the technical error does not change the Chinese map or the Russian map or some other map? How is it that the technical error was only changing the Indian map?
The only country of this scale they can mess around with is India.
The technical error is only on India, not on other countries.
There is.
Because all that we do is threaten, we don't actually act.
You are just trying to make a story against Twitter because you don't like Twitter.
No, I love Twitter, but I don't like Twitter for flouting my laws. And if Twitter is making a technical mistake, how come it's not making a mistake in the case of China or Pakistan or any of the other countries?
Twitter has operated in India for the last... Twitter has operated in India for the last 13 years. India is Twitter's biggest market, so there is no way that Twitter would not know the map of India. This is a deliberate and malified distortion of Indian map. There is no doubt about it. But let me reassure you, and we all know that, Twitter's honeymoon days in India, they have been put against the mat. They are fighting with their back against the wall. But yes, this indiscretion with a malified intent is probably the last nail in the coffin. Now, the question to you, which you have posed to me, is very similar to the, Tariq ka bataoge. We have been through these moments on Kashmir. We have been through these moments on Ram Temple. Let me tell you that, we don't believe in knee-jerk reactions. But yes, we will build up a very strong case against Twitter so that, like the abrogation of Article 370, when we take action, Twitter will not be able to challenge it in the court of law, will not be able to get it undone. These are the last days of Twitter's hoodwinking Indian laws. These are the last days of Twitter's chicanery, and they need to get their act. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, but one line observation. One line. So one line observation. One line observation. 1 minute. Just one line. One line. Listen.
Okay.
Come.
30 seconds.
Listen. Just all you want to know what will happen to anyone operating in China if you don't include Taiwan in China? You want to know what will happen to anyone in Ukraine if you in Russia if you don't include Crimea within Russia? Because they don't threaten.
Yeah, so why don't you become a communist country? Why don't you become a communist country? On one side, you harp about democracy. Why don't you become a communist country? I mean, let's become communist.
Why don't you become an Indian?
Let's all support communism here.
Why don't you start thinking like an Indian?
Here.
Your obsession with communist...
Yeah. Ifra's on the debate.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Ifra and Ishkaran on the debate.
For a second. In 2020, BJP's pro-CAA rally featured wrong map of India, and it was done by a Bharatiya Janata Party MP. She actually posted on her Twitter a completely wrong map of India, where Jammu and Kashmir was seen to be a part of Pakistan. In another instance, BJP actually sent out books to Delhi Municipal Corporation, where 4 of these standards had books that showed Jammu and Kashmir to be a part of China. In fact, it was Aam Aadmi Party that asked the BJP to take back those books and not come up with distorted maps. But right now, why you guys are so bothered about a technical mistake is because BJP ecosystem constantly needs a new villain. Initially, it was Riya Chakravarti, then it's Love Jihad, then it's somebody else, then it's Mehbooba Mufti. And because you guys constantly need new villains so that nobody asks this question about the -8 GDP, nobody asks these questions, government difficult questions. The question is, why is the BJP government constantly sending out legal notices to Twitter and asking them to bring down accounts of people who are critical on Twitter?
It is Twitter which is on a suicidal mission. It is
Absolutely
Twitter.
not.
We,
Absolutely
through these new
not.
intermediary
Why are you
guidelines, we
guys
have actually
standing
tried
out?
to
Why are you
smoothen.
guys
We have
standing
actually
out?
tried to smoothen the functioning
Why
of
are you
Twitter in
guys
India.
standing? No,
Unfortunately,
Pulinji,
unlike
why
a
are you
Facebook,
guys
unlike
standing
an
out legal
Instagram,
notices?
Twitter believes it
Why
can
are
get
you guys
away
sending
with
out legal
colonial
notices
style
asking Twitter to bring down
extraterritoriality.
accounts of
The
critics?
days of Twitter,
No.
the
You
days
need
of
new
Twitter
villains.
exercising its
You
malefic
need
chicanery are
new
over.
villains every day.
Twitter needs
You need new
no.
villains, sir.
If
You
Twitter
need
had
new
adhered to the
constant
laws,
villains.
are you trying to say that Twitter, being in India,
you
can
need
challenge
new
Indian
villains.
laws? Are you trying to say that Twitter, being in India, can challenge the parliamentary panel on IT laws?
BJP challenged the law.
Nobody. The fact is, whether it is Mehbooba, since you mentioned Mehbooba Mufti, since you mentioned Mehbooba Mufti, let me tell you, like Twitter, Mehbooba Mufti was challenging the Indian state on the issue of Article 370. She was on record to say that just an Article 370 हटाओगे उस दिन एक व्यक्ति fact flag नहीं उड़ाएगा.
All this is very good. All this is very good. All this is very good, but you know, I two in 1 minute. Just wait. Ishkar, I know I'm coming to you. I'm just intervening with one line. You know, the problem becomes when you, as in the government, begin to feel that if you question Twitter, then globally you will be on the back foot on issues of freedom of expression. You need to stop caring. You know, you care too much. You know, you have made yourself believe today.
Of course you should care.
That if today, no, 1 minute. You have made yourself believe today.
Why do you want to
It's like, will you stop giving
you
background music, please?
on the national media? Why not on the social media?
One minute.
Why not on the social media the same independence that you want on the national media? If you want your independence, why do you want to scuttle other people's voices on Twitter? Why can't I speak what I want on Twitter? What's wrong with it?
There is no absolute freedom on
the problem is you. The problem is you don't. Okay, Ishkaran is on the debate. Ishkaran is on the debate right now. Ishkaran is on the debate with Syed Asad Abbas on the debate. Calm down, everyone, please.
Allow me.
They have already taken back the map.
Just let me make my point. You can do it. Arnab, we are being told again and again that it is an accident. I want to use a line from Godfather. Accidents do not happen to people who take accidents as personal insults. China takes it as personal insult. Russia takes it as personal insult. You will not have Lahore being shown as a part of India. You will not have Tibet being shown as a part of India. We do not take these accidents as personal insults. That is why we suffer. So the question is to the government of India. Anytime they do this, why 1 day suspension you don't do of Twitter? Just 1 day suspend Twitter. And you will see immediate action and immediate results. And let me quote after Godfather James Bond. Once is a happenstance, second time is a coincidence. How many times
you have picked up my favorite movie and my favorite book. So can I ask you, Ishkaran, what in your view would be the Vito Corleone approach? What would be the Vito Corleone approach to this kind of situation? Tell me.
I have the right answer. Arnab, allow me. Coming from
Syed Abbas is debating.
Arnab, allow me. I'm a big Godfather. I'm a big Godfather fan, Arnab. I think I think the BJP government needs to tell Twitter, I'll make you. Arnab, allow me. Arnab, with the reference of Godfather, I have the right answer. Arnab, allow me.
Yeah, please do, please.
30 seconds.
I wish you come to the right time, then you would have right answer.
Arnab, allow me. Ishkaran, my friend, 10 seconds, my friend.
Unfortunately, you are so
Okay, I know the answer. I will tell you. Okay.
Even China.
I think, Arnab, I have the reference. Godfather.
What needs to be done is something very simple.
Ishkaran, I heard you, my friend. Allow me 10 seconds.
You can come in.
Ishkaran, let me make you an offer you can't refuse. Let me make you an offer. Arnab, can I come in? I have the answer.
Your offers
all right. Ishkaran.
Your offers have not been India's interest. If you had offers in India's interest,
all right, thank you.
That's just one simple point. Arnab, they won the government.
All right. No, my friend. Okay, Arnab, can I come in? All right, Ishkaran, the fact of the matter is the Bharatiya Janata Party is coming across as a weak government. Okay, Arnab, can I come in now? No, my friend, you're deviating from the topic. You're completely deviating and you're taking it to some other league. No, let's get straight to the point. No, you're not making it simple. You're making it more complicated. One day of ban will do nothing. One day ban will do nothing. I'll tell you what Twitter needs.
They don't listen for
Twitter needs a lot more than that. Arnab, allow me to come in 30 seconds of non-stop time. I can answer you. I think monologue will not help you here.
Okay,
no, can I come in now? Arnab, allow me my time, please. 30 seconds.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Allow me 30 seconds. Okay. Quick 30 seconds. Okay. First and foremost, Arnab, I think I agree with Sushant. The fact of the matter, this government ruling dispensation must and should not deal with them. Kid gloves, you need iron hands. I think Amit Shah ji, you need to make an offer to Twitter that they can't refuse. Follow the lines, follow the intermediary rules, or get out of India. Enough. You blocked our IT minister. You block our IT minister.
Will debate with
you do so much. Wait, let me finish. Let me finish, my friend.
Gaurav is on the
debate. Let me finish my point. Okay. The fact of the matter, Tuhin Sinha, my friend Gaurav, need to set a line here. Many a times on your show, Arnab, I appreciate Republic TV. I'll tell you why. The day you saw the hypocrisy of Twitter, you moved the complete traction to coup. That is walking the talk. That is preaching what you say. You prove that you're not a hypocrite. The government of power today in power needs to deal with iron hands. That is what you need to do. You block our IT minister. What else you do? You care a damn. Where is your compliance officer Twitter? Where is your nodal officer Twitter? Where are your cooperation with the intermediary rules, regulations? You care two hoots to India. I think it's Amit Shah to be the so-called Chanakya and make an offer to Twitter that they can't refuse. You stay in India or get out. Follow our rules. It's our way or the highway. Chalo patti gali nikal ke. And finally, I think the national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, I dare you, I challenge you, start a movement right now on Republic TV. Get your Twitter out and delete the app. Log out, delete the app, deactivate your account. Let's start with you, Tuhin. Can you do this? What Republic TV did, they moved the whole traction. I've been on hundreds of debates.
I don't need Syed's advice for the simple reason that if he block Twitter right now, he will be the one who will start the Andolan GV movement, I can tell you. But anyway, the parliamentary panel is very...
Doing you're scared of that? That's my problem.
I'm not scared of that.
Don't care about me.
I'm just calling out the hypocrisy. I'm just calling out the hypocrisy of these communists. What I am telling you is that you are already aware the parliamentary panel has already put Twitter on the map. Twitter itself knows that they have no other option but to comply with each and every of the intermediary guidelines which have been laid out to them. If Twitter is itself on a suicidal mode, we are allowing it to wither away. We have equally important responsibility of handling the COVID crisis which we are doing exceptionally well. Twitter is on a crumbling spree. So I think Twitter is on a crumbling spree because of how we have dealt with it in the last few weeks.
We are not
set a precedent.
Tuhin, I think you. Tuhin, 1 minute. Tuhin, I think you revealed a little bit there. 1 minute. I want to come. 1 minute. 1 minute. Yeah. Syed, listen to me. You see, just elementary point. You said right now, Tuhin, just one point. You said, Tuhin, that if you were to take that kind of action against Twitter, then you will start a movement with the Andolan GVs. So what? Who the hell are these Andolan GVs? They're exactly what you call them. 1 minute.
I'm calling out the hypocrisy of these communists.
It's like saying, no.
I need to clarify over here. I'm just calling out the hypocrisy of these communists who are criticizing the government today.
Just a minute. You must remember the promise.
Government of India.
You must remember the promise that you made to the people of India.
These communists, we would not have talked the talk on Kashmir. We would not have talked the talk on every issue on which we promised necessary action.
Promising
I was merely calling out the hypocrisy of these communists who are criticizing this government.
Then hear one word from me. I'd say this promising necessary action. 1 minute. So now, Syed, please, let me complete this statement. promising necessary action is not good enough. Let me complete. Promising necessary action is not good enough. By saying that if we were to block Twitter or act against them like you should, because they showed Leh as part of China in October last year. They showed Jammu and Kashmir and Arunachal Pradesh as part of China and Pakistan in 2016. They are profiting from our land. The essential principle. Stop it. The essential. One minute. I want you to make this point. Will you stop?
30 seconds.
Is India going to
The essential, not 30 seconds. Now, I have to take you off it. I need to take you off it. Otherwise, I won't be able to make my point. The necessary and most important part of a skillful, hard-nosed negotiation is to act and then bring the other side on the negotiating table. I'm telling you, this is our expectation. It's not criminal to do so, Tuhin. This is what a tough, hard government and tough, hard leadership should be about. 1 minute. 1 minute. I'll give you 30 seconds. Please understand. Look at my perspective. My perspective is you have worked against my country's interest. I will not threaten you. I will act against you. I will not keep saying, like Gaurav understands what I will not keep saying, this is bad. I'll show you the rule book. This is my rule. I'll implement a rule. I'll wait 3 months. Then I'll wait 4 months. I mean, I'll say first, I'll take you out. I'll teach you a lesson. I will stop your revenue stream. I will make you lose your numbers of people, 200, whatever, million people you are operating with in India. I will cut you down to size. And then come, let's talk. Because unless I get a written guarantee that you respect my territory, why should I even let you operate? No. This is the 1 second. Don't teach me, Gaurav. That's my view. Call me a right-winger. This is my view. This is the view of the people of India. This is the way we think. We believe this. We expect this from this government. This is what the government of people of India want.
Yes, absolutely, Arnab.
Yes, we want to control people who work against the national interest. I lost the phone line. Please call me back. Yes. 1 minute. So
it is the BJP which wants it.
Can I just 30 seconds more? 30 seconds. Yeah, Arnab, the fact is we have already cut Twitter to size. Now, while other social media, organizations have adhered to it, if Twitter is on a suicidal spree,
until you BJP leaders stop using Twitter,
until completing the vaccination process for all adults in the country, which is what our focus is. But that does not mean that Twitter will be allowed to get away with repeated indiscretions.
Arnab, allow me 10 seconds.
How can communists talk about hypocrisy? Communists are the biggest hypocrites, people like you. So please,
what's going on?
Gaurav,
Gaurav, this is becoming a pattern.
Till that time.
No, I want to bring in Gaurav. Gaurav, this pattern.
10 seconds, please.
No, I take it to Gaurav, please. Gaurav, please, on air. Thank you. Gaurav and Ashwini Anda, directors, please. Gaurav.
Okay, Arnab, basically what I want to say here is very simple, and I'll take 30 seconds. You see, we've been talking and we have not been acting. This is a criminal offense that Twitter has done. Let's not forget that Twitter is a business that makes millions and billions of dollars from India. It's a major revenue stream for Twitter. Shut down Twitter for 15-20 days. How does it matter? Why does Twitter need to take the protection of freedom of speech every time? Everybody opens a magazine. Anybody can open a magazine or a website and start saying whatever they want and then say it's freedom of speech. No, it's not about freedom of speech. If you want to criticize the government, you can use Twitter. If you want to call the BJP to account, of course you must use Twitter and every other media platform available to you, social media or mainstream media. But when you deliberately show the map of individuals, we can understand for a minute whether they are Congress, whether they are BJP, whether they are Congress. Individuals are different individuals. किसी ने forward कर दिया, किसी ने कुछ कर दिया. That's a separate case. They too must be held to account. But Twitter is a proper company. Twitter has people. It's thousands of employees. Twitter is supposed to, it's making money. If I tweet, I'm not getting any money out of tweeting. I'm just expressing myself. And people want to criticize the Modi government, please go ahead and do it. But shut down Twitter, Arnab. बहुत ड्रामा हो गया इनका. इनको एक महीने के लिए बंद कर दो. ये घुटने पे आ जाएगा. जैक वहां से इंडिया में आके he'll come down on his knees. And you're very right. I agree with you, Arnab, and I agree with Ishkaran Bhandari also when he says that. इनको चाबी लगाने की बहुत जरूरत है. We talk too much, we do too little. इनको टाइट करना चाहिए. You shut down Twitter, Arnab. It does not matter. We are so bothered about what will New York Times editorial say about us? What will Washington Post? What did, that lady Rana Ayub, what she'll write on time and all that? How does that matter?
Who cares? Okay. Take it off. Take it off. I'm asking. No. I want to understand the other side. You know, Ashwini Handa is a media coordinator for the Congress Party in Jammu.
Why do you want people?
He's part of the Ghulam Nabi Azad group.
Arnab?
Does this? What's your stand, Ashwini? I would like to hear your stand, your party's stand.
I speak in Hindi much comfortable.
बोलिए आराम से
हिंदी
बोलिए
मेरे देश का तिरंगा मेरे साथ है उसको किसी में भी हिम्मत नहीं है उसको तिरंगे को कुछ कहने की और देश के मैप को चेंज करने की जिस तरीके से ट्विटर जैसे सोशल मीडिया देश के अंदर गंदगी फैला रहे हैं जिस तरीके से पिछले दिनों देखा गया है कि सरकार ही ट्विटर पे चल रही है तो मेरा ये कहना है कि ट्विटर को इतनी अहमियत दी तो दी किसने आज पूरी सरकार जो है ट्विटर के ऊपर चल रही है तो ये जो चीज है वो ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी की तरह ट्विटर बिहेव कर रहा है ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी भारत में आई यहां से लोगों से पैसा इकट्ठा किया और लोगों पे जुल्म किया और देश को डिवाइड किया वही ट्विटर जो है वो आज देश के अंदर कर रहा है लेकिन मैं आपको चेता दूं कि ऐसी कोई भी साजिश हम देश के अंदर होने नहीं देंगे और जिस तरह ट्विटर अपना यहाँ पे वर्चस्व कायम करता जा रहा है ये सरकार की कमजोरी है और जिस तरह का से भारतीय सरकार बिल्कुल इनके ऊपर नकेल नहीं कस रही है मैं गौरव जी से बिल्कुल सहमत हूं कि अब बारी है नकेल कसने की कि जिस तरह आज भारत के अंदर इस तरह का प्रोपेगेंडा और तरह का प्रोपेगेंडा फैलाया जा रहा है और बच्चे जो हमारा पीढ़ी जो है उसको खराब कराया जा रहा है porn वीडियोस porn सोशल मीडिया
No, watch. I got you. आपका point मैं समझ गया. Tuhin, listen. Why are you on the defensive? And the question, Sushant, I'll put once again through you to Tuhin is, you came into power to say that we will remove and take action against all the corrupt. You made Robert Vadra into a big issue. I'm not diverting. I'm coming on the point actually. Then later, if you would ask the BJP people, what have you done in 7 years on Robert Vadra? You would say privately that if we act against Robert Vadra, we will be accused of vengeance. Similarly, you say if we act against Twitter, we will be targeted. 1 minute, my question is, if we act against Twitter, you will say, I'm saying, I'm asking Sushant and Tuhin to come on this. I'm saying that why is the BJP government and BJP so defensive that you feel that if you act against the corrupt, you will be accused of vengeance. If you act against Twitter, you will be accused of being undemocratic. Do you need a certificate from Twitter and Robert Vadra?
No, we are not. We are not
need a certificate?
No, we are not defensive at all. I started by reminding you of the time. No, not at all. On the contrary, I started by reminding you of the time 2 or 3 years ago when we were constantly asked कि तारीख कब बताओगे? We follow a process of law. We give people a long rope, but when we tighten that noose, that process is irreversible, and everybody knows it. So wait for the process of law. Wait for the right time.
मैं कहना चाहूँगा कि इसकी शुरुआत प्रधानमंत्री ने खुद करनी चाहिए ये कहकर कि ट्विटर अकाउंट जो है बंद कर देना चाहिए
Thank you. No, Sushant, this long rope is not making sense to me anymore. This long rope is not making sense to me anymore. Let me tell you, Tuhin, just 1 minute, Ashwini, I'm talking to Sushant. Can I tell the directors, please? I am simply making a point here. You want to act, you act. If you had given a long rope when you removed Article 370 and 35A, would you ever have removed it? No. If you want to act, you act. Please.
The problem with a long rope is that sometimes you very often trip over it yourself.
That's irreversible.
And I think that is where the problem comes in. I don't have any problem in giving a bit of a long rope as long as you don't trip over it yourself. And which is what has been happening because, the same thing happening over and over and over again. Then clearly, you get the impression that Twitter is basically cocking a snook at you and saying, okay, fine, go ahead, do what you can do. And you really can't do anything. and I would go along with what Ishkaran has said. This is something I have believed in for a very long time, that somewhere along the line you have to give a bit of a jhatka by saying that, okay, fine, if this is what you have done, we are not going to behave in a capricious manner. We are not going to behave in a whimsical manner. Yes, we will behave and we will react according to law. Fair enough. Absolutely no quibbles on that point. But somewhere along the line, you have to bring the law into action, and it just can't be filing one FIR after another, but without taking any serious coercive action against either the organization or the individuals who are running that organization. So you have to do that. But just one last point I wanted to say. I was a little amused to see Vivek Srivastava, a diehard communist, defend big tech capitalist company. I think communism is really dying very bad.
Arnab, just to carry Sushant's point forward, I am not to control the media. I stand for the freedom of media. Arnab, just to carry Sushant's point forward, I am not surprised at communists defending big tech. That is like what Churchill said. If Hitler marches against the devil, if Hitler marches against hell, I'll find a good word for the devil. For certain Indians, anything against India, they will support, be it big tech or be it communism. But anyways, coming back to the point, since we have already discussed Godfather and James Bond, let me quote from the good, the bad and the ugly.
Let the social media be free. I know you become a godfather, you make Narendra Modi a godfather, you make Amit Shah a godfather, that's your choice.
Ladies and gentlemen,
and we don't believe in the bodies of the godfather. We don't believe in the bodies of the godfather. You can make anyone you want a godfather. That's your choice.
Okay.
अरे भाई हम सब खुद के बोल रहे हैं. आपने mainstream media control किया. आप social media control मत करिए. Don't dare to control the social media. You are hypocrites.
And ladies and gentlemen,
you are scared of freedom of expression. You want to control.
And ladies and gentlemen,
That's what you want to do.